One of the biggest problems I had with N8N when I first started playing around with it was figuring out how I could pass data from one workflow to another workflow or from an agent to a tool, and it actually took me a long time to figure this out. But in this video, if you have the same problem, I'm going to show you how to solve it once and for all. So let's dive into my computer here. I'm going to first start out by building the agent, then we're going to build the tool, and I'm going to show you the simplest way possible to pass data between them. There are actually three different ways. The first one is through a webhook. The second one is through an HTTP request, but we're not going to be bothering with that. There is a much simpler approach. So let me start by building this agent. So I'm going to use something very simple. I'm going to use a chat trigger here, so I can initiate the agent from the chat. I'm going to choose the AI agent. I'm going to put it as system prompt. And what I'm going to do now is give it a brain as well. So I'm going to use GPT-4o for this one. GPT-4o, boom. And it's good to go. I'm not going to give it any memory, nothing. So what I'm going to do now is save this. Now I'm going to go back to my home page and I'm going to create the tool. Let's say add workflow. I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to say test tool. And then I'm going to use this trigger right here. So execution. So this is a trigger you should always be using if you want your agent to be able to call another agent. And now I'm going to show you how this works, which is actually very simple, guys. I'm going to save this and then I'm going to go back to my agent, so test agent, and then I'm going to give it access to this tool. You see this section right here where it says call N8N workflow tool. I'm going to click on this and then I'm going to say something like, I want to name it test agent, and then I'm going, or test tool actually. And then I'm going to also give it a name, so test tool. Then I'm going to say call this tool to send emails, something like that. Just keep it simple, database, and then I'm going to choose my tool right here, and then response, boom. That's simple, guys. So now I'm going to save this, and what I'm going to do is now give it an actual chat. And I'm also going to add an additional line in the prompt so it knows that it's supposed to call this tool, although he'll probably figure it out on his own. Your job is to generate emails based on the input you receive. Always output your answers in this format. Choose the appropriate tool you need in order to execute the operation in your input. Boom. I'm going to save this, and now I'm going to give it a quick chat. So here I'm going to say write me an email inviting my friend John to my birthday party next week and send it to him. This is John's email address. I'm going to give it an example. I'm going to say john@gmail.com. Let's fix this quick typo right here. Boom. Now I'm going to send it. It's probably going to come up with an error, but we don't care about that because the tool is not working. So it's not going to send any emails. But as you can see, this is John's email. This is a subject line. This is a body right here. So what I'm going to do now, you see the tool didn't work, of course. But what I'm going to do now is go back to the home page. I'm going to go test the tool. And then I'm going to come here on executions. I'm going to find the execution that we recently run. So let's just wait for this to load. And then I'm going to click on it. I'm going to go ahead here on the top right and click on JSON. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this query. I'm going to copy it. And then I'm going to go back to the editor section. And I'm going to go ahead and click on this trigger. And I'm going to set up some mock data right here. So I'm going to remove this data from here that is already existing. And now I'm going to, let's just put it like this. And now I'm going to save this. So now this is the mock data that this tool is going to be dealing with. And you can see I have pinned it, or it was pinned automatically. But it's important you pin it first so you can transfer data from one workflow to another workflow. We're gonna remove it later, don't worry about it, but for now, because we want to be able to transfer the variables from one tool to another tool, we have to pin it and then we remove it at the end. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use an OpenAI assistant or messenger model. Let's find it right here. I'm going to choose GPT-4o for this one, and then I'm going to give it a prompt, which is basically going to be extract or actually parse the information you receive from the input data and always output your answers in this format. I'm going to say the recipient's email address. Let's fix this typo right here, recipient's email address. Then I'm going to say the subject line, and then I'm going to say the body. And now I'm going to also give it access to the input data so it knows what it is I'm talking about. And all I have to do here is drag this query and put it right here. So here it is, JSON query. You don't even have to pin the data. If you can just come here and write this line of code right here, it's gonna know on its own that you're talking about the JSON query that it came in. But if you don't know anything about coding, then you have to pin the data first and then drag it here, which is actually a very simple thing to do. And then I'm going to have it output the content as JSON. So now I'm going to test this step as well, make sure everything is working fine. So as you can see, we have now the recipient's email address, we have the subject line, and then we also have the body. So now what I can do is take these variables and drag them further along the workflow so I can use them in later nodes. But actually, let's even go on with this and complete it so I can show you how it works entirely. So what I'm going to do now is set these fields. So I'm going to use recipient's email, and I'm going to drag and drop the recipient's email right here in JSON format. Then I'm going to use the subject line, boom. I'm going to say subject line, and then I'm going to use the body right here. So I'm going to say body, boom. And then I'm going to test this step, and you can see the recipient's email is this one, the subject line is this one. This is the email right here. And of course, guys, this comes down to the kind of tool you want to set up. For now, this is just for explanation or explanatory purposes. So that's why I'm keeping it super simple. It might not even make sense, like the email here should have my name, whatever. You get the point. And now what I can do is basically complete the rest of my workflow at the send email node and then add a response at the end. But actually, I'm going to go ahead and save this. But first, what I want to do is unpin this data from here. So I'm going to unpin it and save it again. So now it's going to expect a new query to come in from the trigger of this workflow that was passed along from the agent. And then this query right here is going to populate with a new query that the trigger receives. So let's go ahead and give it a test. Now you can see that the data is unpinned, which means that if I leave it, it's no longer going to have access to this data. And now I'm going to go back to the agent, and now I'm going to run another test so you can see that it successfully passes the data from this workflow to the other workflow. So I'm going to say something like, write me an email to invite my friend Chris this time to my birthday party next week. Ask him to not forget the booze. Come on, not forget the booze. His email is chris@gmail.com. So super simple. I'm going to send it through this. Okay, let's see. Well, I should have also asked it to send the email, so it should have called the tool. So let me go ahead and try it again. Let me just, where is it? Write me an email. I'm gonna copy this, and then I'm going to go ahead and test the agent again. So I'm gonna say, boom, write me an email then send this email to Chris. Boom. And now it's supposed to call the tool below. So let's see if it works. Just wait for it. It's slow, man, but what can we do? Okay, so for some reason the body is written in this format. I don't know why, but it doesn't really matter. So you can see it tried calling the tool, but obviously it didn't return any responses. So I'm going to save it now. I'm going to go back to the test tool. And now when I go to executions, you see this is the latest execution, 12:57, well 12:58 now. But you can actually see that everything was successful. So the agent received the query. So this is a query right here. And then you can see the output of the OpenAI node right here. So recipient's email is Chris, subject line is this, and then here is the body. And then you can see the set fields, which is now Chris email, this subject line, and the body as well. So it's super simple, guys. I know this could have been a big headache for many of you if this was your first time playing around with N8N. I mean, personally, it took me a long time to figure this out, but I finally eventually did. And there weren't any tutorials on YouTube about it either, so I had to like call people and read their documentation and their community and whatnot. And people had different ways of doing it. But this is the most simplest way to transfer data between two workflows in N8N. If you enjoyed this video, drop a like, subscribe to the channel. I also have a free school community. Let me actually show it to you right here. So I'm gonna pull it up. It's totally free, guys. It's for people who wanna learn more about automations, not just building them, but also selling them. This is what I'm doing in my agency. I sell AI automations to businesses. I built a $50,000 plus automation agency within a few short months, and everything is documented on my YouTube channel. So if you want access to all the automation tools I'm sharing on my YouTube channel, as well as access to a community, access to myself, other agency owners, and all that stuff, then make sure you join this. It's free, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.